On my chopping board here I have 1 finely diced shallot, I have 2 tablespoons of ginger chopped up, and 4 cloves of garlic finely chopped. In my saucepan here I have 2 pounds of plums. Now what I've done, I've actually taken the pips out, and what we've done there, we've actually taken the flesh and put some water, just a splash, and we've reduced our plums down into a sort of jelly-like consistency. It's thick, but it's just basically plum juice with the skins left in it. Now what we're going to do now, we're going to add our shallots, our garlic and our ginger into this plum sauce. Now we're going to add 2 tablespoons of chili bean sauce into our plum mixture. Now the chili bean sauce is fairly hot because obviously it's made of chilies, but it's got a sour kick to it as well. So what we need to do is counter that with some sugar. So what we're going to do here, we're going to counter the chili bean sauce with 1 cup of Mucavado brown sugar. I've got my measurement here, it's 1 cup, and we're going to add that into our plum sauce. Next we're going to put in 2 teaspoons of Chinese white spice. Next into your mix is 1/4 cup of soy sauce. So with the plum sauce we're making, we need to add 1/2 cup of rice vinegar. This will give an authentic plum sauce taste. All of our ingredients are in the pot on top of the hob, boiling away. And once we get to a boil, we'll turn that to a simmer. Now we brought our plum sauce up to a nice rapid boil. And what we need to do is turn this down now to a simmer and let this gently bubble away. So what I'm going to do in a minute, I'm going to move this forward to the front of my hob on the smaller gas and let this bubble for half an hour, 40 minutes. The plum sauce will thicken up with the sugar we've added to it, and it will also allow enough time for the ginger and the shallot to infuse into the plums we've already put together. And then we could just sort of pour this off and decant it into a blender, blend it up, and then put this into sterilised jars for keeping. This should last a good 6 months because the jars will seal themselves, keep the air out. To sterilise your glasses, just put them on a tray, put them in the oven for about half an hour at about 120 degrees. That should be hot enough to sort of sterilise them. And then what we're going to do with the lids, just stick that in a cup full of boiling water, just a cup full of kettle water. Once you boil the kettle, that should sterilise the lids adequately enough. This is my plum sauce after I've simmered this for half an hour, after we originally took it to the boil. Now this is the time to adjust the recipe. Now my plums are fairly runny still, so I'm going to leave this on the hob for another 15 minutes to try and get some of the liquid reduced down to make this thicker. Now I know for a fact that because I have sugar in here, on the heat, sugar heats up and becomes a liquid. So I'm actually hoping that once this cools, after another 15 minutes of boiling, will thicken the sauce up. Now I've also had a taste of this, and what I've done, took a little teaspoon, had a slurp, and I've noticed that the mixture is a little bit vinegary still, so I've added 2 more tablespoons of sugar. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to simmer this for another 10-15 minutes and adjust my cooking accordingly. I'll either increase the time again, and I'll also have another taste and check the seasoning. If it's still too sweet, too vinegary after this, then I will adjust by adding a little bit more sugar. Then I'll cook that for a further 10 minutes and we'll see what it's like. So my plum sauce has been cooking away for a further 10 minutes. It's a little bit thicker than it was, which I'm happy with. It will thicken up as it cools down as well. Now what I'm going to do now, I'm going to get a stick blender and we're going to blend so all the skin of plums is obliterated into the sauce, and any shallot that's left in pieces will also be blended into the sauce. Now in my oven I've got 4 jars which have been heating up on 120 for the last half an hour, and in my cup here, boiling hot water, I've put the lids of the 4 jars. So once I've done the stick blender, we'll pour these into the jars and we'll bottle these up. I've just blended my plum sauce up. Now what I'm going to do, because it still looks a little bit thick and bitty, I'm going to pass it through a sieve first into a clean Pyrex dish, and we'll pour that into our jars using a jam funnel. So just use a wooden spoon to pass your sauce through the sieve. You can use a ladle as well if you want. This will actually give you a nice smooth sauce. The colour on this is looking beautiful already. It's a very plummy, purpley red colour. You can see the little bits on the bottom of the sieve here where there are little bits of skin left in our sauce, so it's always better to blend things if you want a smooth sauce. That's what I'm trying to achieve here. So take your Pyrex glass, the jar, and what you've done, you've already passed this through a sieve, and all we're doing is using our jam funnel here, and we're going to pour this straight into our sterilised jars, which are still hot. Now the reason the jar doesn't crack is because you're pouring hot liquid into this. If you use cold water, the glass would shatter. Now what we're going to do is our jar, fill the jar up to the brim. So here are our jars of Chinese plum sauce. This is a great way to use up a glut of plums if you have a plum tree in your garden. It's a very intense sauce. It's fairly thick once you've boiled it down with the sugar. And we used 2 pounds of plums. We used 4 cloves of garlic, a shallot, which we diced. We used 2 tablespoons of ginger, 1/4 cup of soy sauce, 2 big tablespoons of chili bean paste, which actually gives you a very nice kick to this. And then we added some Chinese 5-spice powder. We added 1/2 cup of rice vinegar and 1 cup of sugar. Now let's have a quick look at the bottle. The jam jar we're using is fairly hot still, it's pretty warm, so the sauce is fairly runny. Now this will actually thicken up because when you boil the sugar turns loose and liquid, but then it starts to caramelize and set when you take the heat away from it. It crystallizes up again, and that should now set firmly in the jar. When I say firmly, it won't be thick and solid, it will actually be thick and slightly runny, which is what you want for a plum sauce. Now this is ideal to put on duck. Crispy duck is quite nice with plum sauce, and you could use it for various other accompaniments. You might even want to try your own crispy fried turkey as it's Christmas time. This is a lovely flavoured sauce. I think you should try it.